Thank you all for the warm welcome. I'll jump in, and since I'm going to be helping moderate this on the Zendesk side of things, my name is David Horton. This is going to be a great conversation. Hopefully you guys enjoy everything. If you have questions, obviously throw it in the chat. If it flows into the conversation, we will do the best that we can to include that. But I want to make sure that we're leaving so much time for all these wonderful people to share their stories, myself included. So how about we do something really, really cool that no one knew was going to happen? How about everyone just introduce themselves and lead into what it means for you to be Black in tech? And let's go ahead and start with Raquel. She looks like she's really excited.
Thank you, David. Good morning, good afternoon. Hello, everyone. My name is Raquel Hill. I'm based in Atlanta. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. And I am a solutions consultant at Zendesk. And so what that means is I help ask questions for customers and bring their vision to life. I think being Black in tech for me really means that I have the opportunity to really showcase who I am, bring my full self of my culture. My family's from the Caribbean, sort of infuse that in how I connect with people, how I bring that experience of my lived culture, my professional and personal background into the spaces that I am. And as I grow in my career, whether or not it's a comfortable or uncomfortable conversation, I'm really able to help others and learn myself by starting to be more honest and genuine of who I am in all spaces that I am professionally.
I love that. I love that. And that's a really important thing. I think we talk about it quite often here at Zendesk, right? About like being one's authentic self. So I think that's a wonderful thing that we'll save and pin it for later. But Julius, let us know who you are and what it means for you to be Black in tech.
Yes. Hello, beautiful people. I'm happy to be here. Once again, Julius Ponder. I'm based out of Atlanta, Georgia. I'm one of the senior managers over here at Zendesk on the SMB side, leading a team of account agents creating new business. And what being Black in tech, what it means to me is a great question, is that in my experience, there's not many of us. So the ones that we do see, it means excellence. It means that we are the best of the best. And it means that we are on the cutting edge of the future because technology really does push the future forward. So having that insight, but also having that responsibility to also make sure that we bring more excellence along the way. We don't want to be the only ones in the room. We want to have all our brothers and sisters around us because we are the best of the best.
Listen, I was over here trying not to like do one of these on you, but I love that. I love everything you just said about the excellence piece. It's actually kind of puts a smile on my face and in my spirit of thinking about what that means and how we all kind of carry that weight equally in our own ways. So I love that. Thank you. And then Whitney, introduce yourself and tell us what it means for you to be Black in tech.
Hi, thanks, David. I'm Whitney Watts. I'm actually from Atlanta, Georgia, but based in Brooklyn, New York. I'm the director of marketing at Zendesk, and I run impactful campaigns and bring and lead teams to do so as well. One thing that I wanted to add on to that conversation is that working in tech really doesn't mean you have to be a programmer or a computer science expert. You can work in marketing like I do. Working in tech can look like a variety of different things, and being Black just adds this additional awesome superpower layer, right? So, we have secretly an advantage over our non-Black peers for a variety of different reasons. One example for me, I've always known how to code switch. And, I've been able to translate that into maneuvering different conversations, communication styles, and being really highly emotionally intelligent. All of that has helped me really excel in this industry.
No, I love that. I feel like I kind of emerged between all three of you, honestly. Just kind of sharing a little bit about me for you guys is I came from a very, very difficult background, growing up in foster care and a lot of different things. So being in tech for me was just not even a thought. It wasn't a thing. It just kind of happened, right? Which leads us into that next question that I want to ask you, like, what was the journey for all of you to get in tech? Mine, I always say, was by accident. I started working for a different company by the name of Yelp, selling advertising. And then somehow I moved over to working with Uber, and I was like, why am I at Uber? How did this happen? And now I'm over at Zendesk, like, still not sure how this happened, but I found this love for software. So how did that work out for you guys? Was it an accident, planned, just kind of slid into it? What was that like? And go ahead, Julius.
Yeah, so I'll dive into it. So similar to you, David. I started at Yelp as well. Living in New York
Sorry to hear
City,
that.
living at New York City. I really didn't know where I was going to go at first. I was young in my career. I was newly married, and I was trying to figure out, all right, what are we going to do? I was actually blessed enough to run into a guy, super random, and he was kind of telling me, "Hey, you're kind of good at sales. You know, you should look at technology. You know, over the phone sales, and try to go that route." So I just started applying to a whole bunch of different jobs at that time, super young in my career. And I was actually grateful enough to kind of get my foot in the door at Yelp and kind of understand, okay, what does technology mean? What does software as a service mean? And how does it really impact the world? How do we provide these different businesses and solutions to these businesses to continue to move them forward and kind of move the economy forward? So that was my start, and just running my way through it, trying to navigate, trying to really have advocacy, meeting the right people, and just continue on this journey to help bring people along as well.
No, I love that. Funny enough, I might have actually been in the New York office a few times while you were there. I definitely went to New York all the time back in the day. But Raquel, what was your journey like getting into tech?
Similar to you, Julius, I did not start out in tech. I actually was a high school teacher. So I was in Atlanta. I taught high school chemistry and AP Chem. And I went back to school for graduate school for engineering. And so because I graduated early, I did not know what I wanted to do career-wise. And I attended the NSBE, or National Society for Black Engineer Conference. And exactly like Whitney said, everyone who's in tech not an engineer. I happen to work on the sales team, but not as a sales rep, which I think I never knew these spaces existed. And I think for me, going to that conference, seeing all these huge names, I started my career in tech in medical devices. And one of the things that I think was the biggest surprise was how much being a teacher, I was able to incorporate education into sales. And so when you think about just the access we have right now with technology, a lot of us, when we go shopping, online shopping, in-store shopping, you're probably looking something up before you get there. And I think that's the sweet spot that I've been able to journey through in this career, is being able to understand a concept, explain it to someone. That is exactly what we need when we go into an office or go into an operating room or use software, as Julius just alluded to, because you want to understand it. And so my role and journey into tech really started with education, and had an ability to sort of pivot into that with great coaching from mentors as I developed in my career.
No, I love that. I love that you mentioned having mentors, because I think that that was a humongous piece in me even going to college, let alone getting into where we are now talking about tech. Wonderful young lady, my freshman year of high school, was like, "Hey, we want to put you into this program." And every summer I would go to this program, and that's what led me even going to college. No one else in my family has been to college. And when I speak about my family, for those who know about the foster care system, I am speaking about my biological family. All of them dropped out. So it was very, very interesting for me to have that thing when I think about mentorship. And I don't think, as Black people, let me say that, I don't think we often realize how mentorship plays a humongous piece in navigating us through these waters. I'm pretty sure, Julius, you had someone that, like you said, that helped mentor you, get you in the door. So I love that. Just want to make sure we're talking a little bit more about that and throwing that into the ethos so we can think about that when we're giving back. But Whitney, what has your journey been like?
Yeah, lots of surprises with my journey as well, too. You know, if you'd asked me in high school what my profession would be as like an older adult, I would have never thought the answer would be working for a corporation or a tech company or anything like that. But kind of when I re-examine my life, when I kind of look back, there's always been themes of technology, which kind of thread throughout. I actually studied an undergrad at Georgia Tech in Atlanta, which is, if you all know that school, it's primary like engineering focused, technology forward school. But I was funny, and I studied liberal arts there. I wanted to change the world and travel abroad. And so, you know, but it was very interesting, because even though liberal arts is kind of just general at Georgia Tech, every class had a technology slant to it. So it wasn't just like studying American history. It was history of industrialization and the rise of technology, or cybersecurity throughout world history. And so that really piqued my interest and laid the groundwork in this foundation of love of technology. I sort of had an up and down route as well. I went right into grad school. I studied sociology and also education too, Raquel. So we have that in common. And then I, thought I was going to be a teacher. Then I worked in nonprofits. And then someone was like, hey, can you help out with this marketing program at this nonprofit? And I was really like, wait, what is marketing? Let me kind of check this out. And I love that it's both analytical and creative, and I'm able to, dive into research projects, metrics, and build impactful presentations and communicate. But then in 2010, I moved to San Francisco, and hopefully you all know that, that's been the hub for tech. And so really dived headfirst into the tech world and used my prior experience and my love of technology. I worked at a couple of companies, and then I worked at Salesforce. And then in 2019, I joined Zendesk to run a global integrated campaign. So it's been a lot of fun and more. So, yeah.
No, I love that. Julius, by chance, did you plan on becoming a teacher at any point? Because ironically enough, my major was English, and I thought I was going to become an English teacher.
No, I don't. I actually don't have the patience to teach at that level. But I do aspire to be a college professor one day. Once I kind of retire later in life. But no, I don't think I have the patience for that.
No, I was gonna say, I thought we were gonna close this loop here. But that leads me to wanted to ask you guys, I think it's really important for us to think about the challenges that we face, right? I do think there are challenges that come with being Black in general, obviously being Black in tech, being Black in corporate, all these different layers to this, right? So for what you guys, what has been some challenges, like what's been hard, what's been some setbacks, and how did you navigate those things?
Yeah, I'll dive into it if you don't mind.
Go for it.
I would say, and early on in my career, and like I stated before, and from my personal experience, it's only been, say, 1,000 people, and it's only been maybe 10 people that look like myself, male or female, that are Black. So first getting in there, I did suffer from imposter syndrome, asking myself, like, do I even belong here? Am I good enough? What's going on? And I had to learn to really accept my success and understand that, hey, I'm just as qualified, if not even more qualified, right? I had to go back to the thinking that my grandparents once told me that, hey, you are Black in America, so you have to be 2 to 3 times better. And by knowing that, you are the best one in the room. So don't dim your light for anybody, right? It's like the old Jay-Z line I like to lean on, is that, a lot of times people, they might get jealous of you. Got to realize that they're a candle in the sun, and us as Black people, we are the sun. So having that mind frame kind of helped push me forward and overcoming that and living in my success, sharing my success, and understanding that everything isn't a fight. Everything isn't a battle, right? You do have allies. You do have people that advocate for you. Use them, learn from them, and continue to get better. And by having that mind frame, I was able to kind of get out of that imposter syndrome and just continue to move forward, enjoy my success, and understand that, hey, I might not be many of us, but it's part of my job, my responsibility to continue to bring more of us into the room that are qualified so our excellence can continue to shine.
Julius, I actually have a follow-up question for that before we let Raquel speak on that. When you say that you've kind of ushered in, I think this kind of helps with one of the questions that someone just asked around resources. What would you say would be some things that you've used to help utilize to bring more excellence into those spaces?
Gotcha. So 2 things. I would say learning how to network, not only up, but side to side, right? Find your allies, find your peers. We all don't know the same things, right? People know stuff that we don't know, right? Raquel knows some things I don't know. Willie knows things that I don't know. I'm going to use them and hope they use me to share that knowledge. The second thing is I'm constantly seeking knowledge. No matter what seat you are in, it's your responsibility to continue to seek that knowledge, right? You got online courses. You can go back to school. You can go to the library. The library is free where I'm at. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to be intentional trying to gain that knowledge, because I'm not going to allow somebody to tell me I'm not good enough or I'm not qualified enough because I don't know something. So those are like the resources that I really leaned on to: networking side to side, networking up and down, and always seeking new information, new knowledge, and challenging myself, continue to grow in that aspect.
Nice. I love that. I'm just saying, Whitney just like nod. She's like, yeah, I like that too. So Raquel, like, what would your take be on that? Like, what has been some challenges for you? Like, how did you overcome things that Julia spoke about, like imposter syndrome or,
Just in life. So honestly, I don't think I've overcome imposter syndrome at all. I think it's something I navigate. And I think one of the things that helps me do that is having a solid village of people around me. I think it's very easy to get in this space where you still don't feel like you belong in the room. And I think that happens to me quite often. And so when I think about like impact at Zendesk, I'm not a sales rep, so that's not my role. But in the last year, I did help influence over $2 million of in money coming in came from all the work that I collaborated in, whether it was with marketing events or it was with closing deals. And it really took the village of like a good manager and good peers were like, yo, everyone's not doing that, that allowed me to navigate that. But I think the bigger challenge wasn't just imposter syndrome, but when I was an undergrad at Duke, they coined the term effortless perfection. And I feel like being Black in tech, that is where I definitely am like, I'm gonna help close this deal and help everyone do this and really be that person that people can rely on, but make it look like I can do this. So I am researching all the time. I am looking things up, but that effortless perfection is exhausting. And it does get to a point where you just feel like you have to put on. And I think, you know, with therapy and talking to other people and just processing that, it has always been this weight of, I have to do really, really well or they won't hire another Black person in this role. There aren't that many of us in this role internationally. And so that weight, I think, was sometimes the challenge mentally that was holding me back. I think what helped me navigate that is starting to keep a list of things that I've done well that have been successes. When people Slack me or message me or a customer tells the rep like, hey, that demo was great, or like that, she really captured an understanding. Those small things, in the moment, I don't sit in them, I will be honest, but I'll have to, you know, tell my manager, I'll tell my husband, and then they typically pour it back into me. And so I think that's really helped me navigate this space where I didn't always feel like I deserved to be here. And there are times where I definitely don't necessarily think I fully own that I am here in this space. Like the fact that we're on this panel is still like, oh shoot, this is happening. But I do still think that navigating that challenge is like an ongoing affirmation of, like Julia said, we deserve to be here. We are bright people, we are smart people. And when we're in the room, we come to deliver. And I think that's me just trying to own that more and more each day.
First of all, now I'm questioning, did I overcome imposter syndrome yet, or am I still in the, you know, in the room? But it makes me ask you, not even ask, but just say, what has it been, kind of going off topic here, but still on trend? What has been the hardest thing, or what do you think has been the biggest setback? And I'll actually pose this to Whitney, for accepting accolades, because I think I find it I struggle to date. My friend, one of my best friends was like, David, you've done so many great things. I was like, I haven't done anything. What are you talking about? And then he just goes down a list of all these things I've done. And I was like, well, that's just stuff that I just did. I don't know if that's an accolade, right? So how has that journey been like for you? Kind of going back off what Raquel was saying.
So +1 to what Raquel said, what Julie said, and yes, record those wins. Like start a spreadsheet. You know, there's apps that help you do that too. There's one that I use that I like that's called Pep Talk Her, that will just prompt you regularly to remind you, what was your win for this week? Like just jot it down, take a screenshot, put it there. It will help so much, especially with performance reviews when that comes up, when you talk to your manager or your VPs, you're trying to leverage for raises or promotions or whatever. Then you have this list, you have the evidence, you have the stats to back it up. So I think that's huge. And then, you know, taking the compliment, you know, I'm actually reading Shonda Rhimes's book right now, The Year of Yes. And she even had to learn, after like lots of trials and tribulations, to accept the yes and accept the accolades, right? And really just say thank you when someone said something amazing about what you're doing. So yeah.
I love that. Sorry, as she was talking, it just got me thinking of like myself in those moments. But I also think, even though we've talked about some setbacks, what have been some like really quick wins that you guys can attribute to being Black in tech, or just getting to where you are now? And I'll go ahead and start with Raquel to see how you feel about that one.
Keep it coming to me, David. I would say, I think a huge win has been building community. I actually talked to some undergrads about working in tech and helped them really overcome the same fear that I was talking about of like, I don't think I could do this. And one of them landed an internship at Zendesk for the summer. And with her coming, she starts in June, and I was just like, this is happening. Like, she's a woman of color, she's coming, she's able, like, I am full throttle. Like, when you get your Slack activated, we are figuring out a way for you to not have as many missteps and sort of just confusion on the front end as I did. And I think it felt just like a win for her to apply. And I think that's the biggest gap that I think I've often heard from people is like, I want to be in this, but I don't even put my foot forward because I don't want to try. And for her to listen, engage, and really just try, that felt like a win. But for her to land the internship, that really felt like a huge success for breaking just the mold of what we're thinking we can do and what rooms we can be in.
Yeah. No, I have to agree with that. Hopefully this is okay to say. Actually, when I was working at Yelp, my director at the time, he's an English guy. So of course he doesn't think how we all think here in America, right? And he talked every week and he would tell us, he's like, I want Black and brown people, men and women of color of all groups to apply for leadership roles. And I'll never forget, he comes to me, he's like, why didn't you apply? And I was like, oh, I haven't been here long enough. I've only been here like seven or 8 months. And he was like, have you seen what you've been doing? I was like, no, I'm just doing my job. This is what's required. He's like, if you don't apply for this, he's like, I will personally hunt you down every single day until you do. And he was like, his verbatim, he said, there's so many white boys who are going to apply for this role who don't qualify. He's like, and they're gonna get it because people like you aren't. And it also makes me think about coming into Zendesk being told that I didn't qualify, but saying yes because they appreciated the tenacity of just having the wherewithal, like, you know what, let's just do it. Let's just see what comes from this. So I guess what I want to say to that is just empower anyone that's listening to this, that is on this call, who is Black or brown or any diaspora. Take the chances. You miss 100% of the shots that you do not take, and you'll be very shocked at the number of things that you get back in return. Which once, I know that we're, coming up on time, I want to be very, very mindful of everyone's time. So I want to ask a question to Whitney. What would you want others to know about being Black in tech and in this industry, and what's excellent about it?
Yeah, I think we kind of touched on a little bit of it already, but like really drilling in. So kind of summarizing here. So figuring out what you like to do and what your strengths are. And that may look different than the person sitting next to you, the person behind you, whatever. Focus on your strengths, focus on how you stand out, and what makes you uniquely you. I think there's beauty and excellence in the fact that Black people and people of color, we're not a monolith. Everyone has unique things to bring to the table. And like David said, shoot your shot, take that chance.
It took everything in me not to yell out unique from Renaissance. But I'm sorry, I'm serious.
Did you get tickets? No.
There. But I want to ask a question to all of you. And I'll start by saying what it has meant to me, and then I would love for you guys to share. What advice, I know we've talked and touched on quite a few different things that will fall into this category, but what additional advice would you give to help people navigate the tech industry? Or, what would that look like for you? For me, I kind of think I'm going to echo what Julia said earlier. For me, it's just understanding like there are more people like you and pulling those people in, and making sure that we're reaching back, I think is the best way to navigate that, and making sure we're networking. I can't remember everyone's name, but quite a few people already added me on LinkedIn that are going to be a part of this talk. And I was like, this is exactly how you do that. That is how you find that community. That's how you network. And just that one thing, you'll be surprised that maybe I'll get a promotion somewhere and someone's like, hey, David, I see you just got a promotion. I would love to be at Zendesk, where you just came from. How can I get there? And those little things, I think, would be the advice, is just continue to take those chances, take those risks, and make sure that you're connecting with the people, not just because you added them on LinkedIn, but send them a message like, hey, I'm looking to get in your industry. How do I do that? And if you haven't heard from them for a few months, reach back out in like 3 to 6 months to say, hey, I see some things have changed, or some things have changed with me. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there, would be the advice that I give. But Julia, you came off mute, so we're going to start with you. What would your advice be?
Just to echo what you said, build your community. I suffered early in my career because I put myself on the island and I felt like I was always by myself. So I would say be intentional in finding your community, finding that network, and finding those people that you can lean on, that you can pour into, they can pour into you, and you can keep that going. And then the biggest thing is keep moving forward. You're going to have your down days. You're going to be stressed out. Anxiety may get the best of you, but you are here for a reason. So I challenge people to keep moving forward. The sun's going to come out. You'll get off that treadmill eventually. You'll take that vacation to get that break, but you have to keep moving forward to ensure your success, your survival, and make sure that you are here for a reason. With that mentality, I'm able to just keep moving in life, enjoying life, keeping my peace, and letting people know that, hey, this light is here to shine for a reason. So put your sunglasses on, people.
That's all I'm gonna give you. All right. I'm gonna just give you the point. Did you, either of you ladies, have anything you want to add to that advice? Because we do have a question I would love for us to be able to get you.
I can quickly say, I just wanted to say my advice would be, don't feel like you have to reinvent yourself. I think when I was coming into tech, I wasn't sure that I could not have to learn coding. I was like, I don't want to go back to school. I don't want to have to learn all this stuff again. And there is still a space for the skills that you have. So figuring out, either writing them down, asking your peers, what skills do you bring to the table? And then use those transferable skills to find a role in tech would be some of the advice that I would give. So you don't feel the pressure that you're not yet where you need to be, because where you are now, you have skills that definitely could enhance our industry.
What say you, Whitney?
Quickly, always ask questions, right? And research. Google is a powerful tool. We have so much at the tip of our fingers these days. So when you get through the interview process, you should already know your worth and ask for more, and be prepared to negotiate, because tech companies and companies all across the world they have more budget than they talk about. So
I love that you say then they talk about. No, but I know we have about 2 minutes left, but I thought this was a wonderful question. And a lot of people ask this, like, outside of this conversation. And it's, how do you navigate through the parts of work that aren't fun, rhetoric, and empowering? How do you keep yourself from being burnt out?
I can go first.
Yeah, go for
just
it.
jumping in. I
Do
know
it.
it's a buzzword these days, but self-care, like figuring out what self-care, what that looks like for you. And that could look different, right? For me, I love being outside, being around nature. I love journaling, meditating. Therapy helps too. And having a life outside of work.
Yeah, I strongly encourage having a life outside of work. I feel like you have a 40-hour work week. Make sure that that is your work week. If there's some situations, obviously you may need to work a little longer, but if you can make it happen, making sure your work week doesn't turn into 50 and 60 hours if it doesn't have to, has been the biggest saver for me. It keeps stress down. I'm not dreaming about work, which has happened, and it just makes it really, really stressful and scary to wake up. But Raquel, you look like you had something there.
Yeah, I think the last session was ending with this when we were coming on, but I think boundaries, I talk about my husband, I talk about my family. I'm very vocal about, like, this is not my whole world. And I think that helps other people feel like they can do the same. So when you do have, like, hey, I have to run to the doctor, I have to go help this, that allows you to have that line. I think as I started being more open that, like, I have other things to balance, that allowed me to draw better lines and boundaries at work to prevent myself from being overwhelmed and burnt out and push through the things that aren't fun, because I knew there was a hard stop and I would be able to sort of bounce back into family time or vacation.
Absolutely. Well, I would love for us to have gotten Julius's answer, but we are at time, and I want to be super respectful of everyone. Thank you all for being a part of this. Obviously, Raquel, Julius, and Whitney. Thank you all. Thank you, Darius, for putting this together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David, for doing such an excellent job moderating and hosting. And thank you, Whitney and Raquel and Julius. I just want to thank you all for sharing your insight, your experience. I also want to just give a shout out to David and Whitney so you can see their background. We talk about, like, what are ways you can amplify some meetings and stuff. And we're like, they're living it and they're doing it. I'm cheating, I'm blurring, you can't see anything about me. But, like, y'all are like, ooh, I can see, like, ooh, okay, Whitney's into plants. Okay, she's got a snake plant. I'm into that too. Cool. These are the things that that we can do also to share our ourselves with each other. And I just want to highlight that. So thank you so much for making the time today, y'all. And we hope to have you back for more chats. We could have listened. I was like this the whole time. I was like, oh, also shout out to all the New York love. I'm a New Yorker. So thank you for that. Okay, friends, have a great day.